Our live team coverage continues here at home and abroad. ABC News foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli is in Lviv. Inez de la Quatera covering the refugee crisis from Poland. And ABC's News' Alex Prochet with us here in Washington. Maggie, what are things like on the ground right now where you are following this morning's attack near the Lviv airport?
Oh, yeah, Kira, this attack is all anyone here can talk about. We were just in town not too long ago, and pretty much every conversation we walked past, they were mentioning this attack, this explosion. You know, it happened just about 4 miles from here. One of our producers actually was awake at the time it happened just about dawn, heard a loud noise, was able to take some cell phone video out the window, seeing that plume of smoke. That's how close it was. We know, Kira, the concern isn't just how close it was to Lviv, here where we are, but also how close it was to the border with Poland, just 50 miles away. Again, that attack so close to Poland, a NATO country. We've seen a few attacks now in the West. They seem to be inching closer and closer to the border. And the concern is that if this war moves west, not only will it affect all the people living in this part of the country, which now includes, you know, hundreds of thousands of displaced people, but also inching closer to a NATO country as well, Kira.
Well, and that's exactly where our Inez is there in neighboring Poland. So, Inez, what's the latest on the refugee crisis? What are you seeing as people cross the border? I can even see behind you, it's very busy at the train station. And I know earlier this morning you were there where refugees were being received.
Hey, that's right, Kira. Yeah, still very busy here. Poland today marking an incredible milestone. More than 2 million refugees have now crossed into Poland. Over 3.1 million refugees total have now left Ukraine. The majority of them are coming here to Poland. And the concern is that as Putin continues to inch further west, as he continues to strike the western part of Ukraine, another wave of refugees could be coming to Poland. We've heard from refugees here on the ground that they initially were hoping to go to western Ukraine and ride out the war in western Ukraine because they didn't think the fighting would hit western Ukraine, but now they're starting to rethink that decision. And so if those numbers keep climbing, we're at 2 million in Poland. If more people continue to come in, that could really overwhelm the country of Poland, Kira.
In debt, I mean, and I talked to the mayor of Warsaw, and he already said they are tapped out. They want to keep helping, but it's just gotten so overwhelming there in Poland. Alex, Vladimir Putin, he made this public appearance today. He spoke at this packed stadium in Moscow as they were celebrating the anniversary of the annexation of Crimea. But what do we know about the fact that there were glitches, is what the Kremlin says, but at the same time, we're told Russian TV just cut him off when he started talking about this Ukraine conflict being a special operation and one of, you know, liberating Ukraine?
Yeah, Kira, I mean, it was kind of a bizarre event, essentially a PR campaign from Vladimir Putin to the Russian people promoting this war that he's waged against the Ukrainian people. You mentioned how he spoke in this packed stadium. Law enforcement officials there estimating that there were some 200,000 people in attendance. They had those Zs that we've seen spray painted on the side of Russian tanks, people wearing T-shirts with that. And also, there was a huge banner that read, "For a world without Nazism." Putin claiming that he is liberating or saving some Ukrainians from genocide in that region. It's a false claim, but he says that that's the main goal, and that's what he's using to justify this continued aggression towards the Ukrainian people. But as you mentioned, I mean, this is taking place in the backdrop. It's the 8th anniversary of the annexation of Crimea. He quoted Bible verses and talked of heroism, but certainly, I mean, it's very clear that Putin trying to show that look, his position in this war is popular amongst his people.
Maggie, Lviv has really become a crucial meeting point for refugees and for people coming in to deliver aid or to help fight. Now you had this morning's attack near the airport. What's your take? Do you feel the city is in danger?
It does sort of feel like a turning point here, Kira. I think for so long, Lviv have been spared. People come from all over the country here thinking they've finally made it to a safe haven. And now with this attack, I think people are second-guessing that. We just heard from Inez talking about this as well, how some people are fleeing western Ukraine. That's going to be a huge problem going forward, not just with displaced people now then becoming refugees when they cross over the border, but also for humanitarian groups and journalists that have set up here in Lviv. I mean, this town is packed, not only with hundreds of thousands of refugees that make their way get through here every day, but also with humanitarian groups. I mean, we've spoken with UNICEF and the Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse. They're all set up here. Pretty much every major TV network and newspaper is set up here right now. So if this place starts to get attacked, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen to all of these groups, which could really impact then not only the coverage of this war, but also, you know, the groups that are here helping those people that are fleeing. So everyone is watching what happens right here now, Kira.
So, Inez, you're there at this train station in Poland. Kind of explain the process as folks are getting off there, arriving in Poland. What's the process? And are they being told, I'm sorry, we don't have room for a family of 10? Or, I mean, are they even getting that specific yet?
Yes, I mean, we've seen the city of Warsaw and the city of Krakow here in Poland saying they are nearing capacity. The Czech Republic has also said it is nearing capacity. So there are lots of talks being had now to try and get these refugees to other parts of Europe, maybe places like Germany, France, Spain. The U.S. is even being included in that discussion. So growing calls in the U.S. for the U.S. to accept more Ukrainian refugees. So far, the U.S. has only taken in a few hundred since October. The Department of Homeland Security did say that they would be sending, or that they have already sent refugee officers to Europe to help assess the situation. But today we were at that border crossing you mentioned. We were looking through some of the tents, and one caught our eye. It was the UN's International Office of Migration that had set up there, and they were there specifically to help refugees figure out where they were going to go next and help with the logistics in that regard, figuring out, you know, paperwork, transportation, all of that. And I asked them about the U.S. They did say they were getting some requests for the U.S., that the vast majority of people want to stay close to the border so as to be able to head home quickly. So they want to stay in Europe for the vast majority of people, but they are getting some requests for the U.S. This organization, though, says that the concern with the U.S. is they don't know how many refugees the U.S. will accept and for how long refugees will be allowed to stay in the U.S. So that's something to watch closely this week. But I think the U.S.'s help, for the most part, will come in the form of financial assistance. And already the U.S. has pledged an additional $186 million in humanitarian assistance, Kira.
Well, keep watching it for sure, Alex. Meanwhile, we're paying really close attention to this 2-hour video call that President Biden had with China's president. And, you know, Russia made this request to President Xi. He hasn't said yes or no. It's kind of frightening to think if Putin and Xi come together and Xi offers military aid, financial aid, what it could do and how it could impact this conflict. Do we know if anything was accomplished during that call?
Well, Kira, the Chinese readout on this, they labeled this conversation constructive. And you're absolutely right. The stakes are very high. And it also comes on the tail ends of National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan meeting with his Chinese counterpart already for 7 hours in Rome, a conversation that was described as tense. Well, the White House positioned this conversation between Xi and Biden as a chance for Biden to get a sense as to where China stands on a number of issues, that chief among them, he wanted to talk about the competition between the two countries. Also, obviously, this situation with Russia and these intelligence reports about Russia reaching out to China for help. Now, from the Chinese perspective, again, this is according to their readout. Taiwan was a topic of discussion, and also they said that the U.S. basically gave out at least a sense that it wasn't trying to start a new Cold War. They talked about Taiwan, and then also said that the U.S. hadn't looked at their had misread China's strategic intentions.
All right, Maggie, Inez, Alex, thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.